The mission of the New England Gilbert Sullivan Society is to support the appreciation of the works of these two talented men, together and separately. William Schwenk Gilbert wrote many straight plays of varying lengths and qualities. Tom Cobb, or Fortune's Toy, which is what we're doing tonight, debuted on April 24th of 1875 in London. Our cast tonight is Ben Morse as Colonel O'Phip, Brad Amidon as Tom Cobb, Edwin Fell as Tim Whipple, Elaine Crane as Matilda O'Phip, Kitty Drexel as Caroline Effingham, Matt Tragert as Mr. Effingham, her father, Martha Birnbaum as Mrs. Effingham, and Anne Ferentz in the pants role of Bulstrode Effingham, and then Laurel Martin will be Biddy. I'm Jacqueline Haney. I'm currently the program chair on the NEGASS board. If you have any ideas for other programs we could set up in this kind of milieu, contact me through Facebook or through the general email address that's on negass.org, our new and improved website. If you haven't been to our website recently, it's worth a trip. And we're definitely looking for events that we can hold virtually, which unfortunately pretty much precludes doing anything with singing together because the latency is just such that it doesn't really work. So we've got a few ideas, but I'm glad to hear anything else. In the event that the gods of the internet see fit to disable one of our players temporarily, I will try to jump in with the lines. So you have that to look forward to. I guess with a virtual curtain speech, I don't need to cover the emergency exits or the silencing of phones or the location of restrooms. So we will get this started. I hope that you enjoy this performance as much as we have enjoyed putting it together. Act 1. The scene is a shabby but pretentious sitting room in Colonel O'Phip's house. Breakfast is laid on the table. Enter Tom Cobb with a letter in his hand.
I haven't a penny. I haven't the ghost of the prospect of a penny. I'm in debt everywhere, and now I'm told that judgment's been signed against me for £250 by the cruelest man in Christendom. Upon my soul, it's enough to make a fellow shy things about. I swear it is. But everything always did go wrong with me, even before I was born, for I was expected to be a girl, and that turned out something quite different, and no fault of mine, I'm sure. Oh, if I knew how to load this thing, I would blow my brains out this minute, upon my word and honor. My dear Matilda, might you unmute your speaker a moment?
There we go.
Hey, and what good'll that do you, dear?
It would rid the world of an unhappy wretch. The world's a beast, and I hate it.
Then if you hate it, what do you want to be doing it a good turn for? Surely it would be a bad bargain, lovey, for you'd lose the world, whereas the world would only lose you.
There's some truth in that.
If I was you, dear, I'd go on living in spite of it.
Oh, ain't that small? Oh, ain't that like a woman?
And after all, you're not so badly off. Don't you board and lodge on nominal terms with a real colonel?
Well, yes, that's true enough.
And ain't you engaged to a real colonel's daughter? And isn't that something to live for?
Oh, I've plenty to live for, but I've nothing to live on. Upon my word, Matilda, when you come to think of it, it is a most extraordinary thing that I can't have any patients. I'm a qualified practitioner, right enough. I've passed the College of Surgeons.
So have I, dear, often.
You can't be more of a surgeon than I am. Put it how you will, but nobody seems to know it, and I'm sure I don't know how to tell 'em. I can't send a sandwich man out with advertisements. The college wouldn't like that. I can't hand placards out from the real colonel's balcony. Walk up to this shop for your amputation, or to married couples and others. The house guards wouldn't like that. Upon my word, Matilda, when I look at you and reflect that there isn't an operation in the whole range of practical surgery that I shouldn't be delighted to perform on you in 5 minutes' notice for nothing, why, it does seem most extraordinary that I can't get my own patients. Oh, Phipp, you're sounding mute today.
There we go.
Yes. I was feeling a little hoarse. Good morning, Thomas. Matilda, me own. The morning to you. Breakfast ready? Good appetite, Thomas?
Oh, tremendous.
Then I'll spile you for you. Don't crack that egg till you're sure you want it. Thomas Cobb, I'm going to have a word or two with you about your prospects, sir.
Oh, Lord.
When I gave my consent to your engagement with me beautiful and beloved daughter, don't cry, my child.
No, Pa.
Ye told me you were about to purchase a practice, and like a simple old soldier, I believed ye.
Sure, and so he was. Didn't you introduce him to Ben Isaacs, and didn't he lend him the money to do it?
Which your papa immediately exchanged for bills.
Which is another term for money.
Another term for money.
Papa has always been accustomed to regard his IOUs as currency.
Why, who do you suppose would sell me a practice for a bundle of your IOUs?
My name, sir, is considered in the city to be as good for £1,000 as for 100.
Papa is one of the oldest names in the kingdom.
Yes, sir, and let me tell ye, it's on some of the oldest bills in the kingdom, too. Such is the value of my name, that I suppose I have renewed oftener than any man alive. And it isn't every man that can say that.
But when I try to discount your paper, capitalists always say, "Who is Phipp?" And when I tell them he's a colonel, they say, "What's he a colonel of?"
Colonel of our regiment, to be sure.
Yes, but in what service?
Well, never mind the service, sir. I was the 27th regiment of it. That's enough for any man. There's many a service besides the British service, I believe, sir.
Oh, I believe there's a good many services.
There's the Spanish service, sir, and the Hungarian service, and the Italian service, and the French service,
And the dinner service.
Oh,
And the church service.
No, sir. When a gentleman asks me my regiment, he has a right to know it, and I tell him at once. But when he asks me in what service, sir, why, that's a piece of impertinent curiosity, and I ask him why the devil he means by it.
Oh, I'm sure I don't care. The regiment's quite enough for me, but then I ain't a capitalist.
Well, sir, let us come to the point. For 2 months you've been engaged to me lovely and accomplished daughter. Don't cry, me love.
No, Pa.
And you're as far from marrying her as ever. Now, during the last 2 months, me poor child's been wasting the best years of her life, and she can't wait much longer. Can you, Matilda?
Deed, and I can't then. I'm 29 and a bit.
She's 29 and a bit. Now it's right to tell ye, and you too, Matilda, that a gentleman of good birth, irreproachable morals, and a considerable command of ready money has done me the honour to propose for my daughter's hand. I say no more, sir. As a man of honour, there's 2 courses open to ye, and I leave you to decide which one of them you'll take.
Matilda, did you hear that?
Yes, Tom, I heard that.
Who is the scoundrel who has dared to aspire to your hand?
Deed, and I don't know, but it'll be some who's lending money to Papa. I generally go with the bills.
What?
When a body falls in love with me, Papa generally borrows money of him, and he gives bills, and I go with him. It's a rule of the family.
But surely you'll never countenance such a bargain?
Indeed, and I don't want to, Tom dear, but I've countenanced it for 13 years, and I'm sure it'll look odd to refuse now. Besides, I'm not as young as I was.
No, but then you're not as old as you might be.
No, but I'm not as old as I mean to be. There's reason for you, Tom, and you want it.
Well, I'm sure I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end.
Then it's the beginning end, and there's no hope for you.
Who's that?
There now, if it ain't your friend Whipple's carriage.
Whipple! Whipple with a carriage! A fool! An impostor! A quack! With a carriage! What does he want to come flaunting his one-horse fly in my face for? There, I actually did that man's botany papers for him at college. And now he's rolling in fever patients, literally rolling in fever patients, while I haven't one to my back.
Well, maybe he'll help you if you ask him. He's a pleasant man.
Pleasant, is he? I don't know what you call pleasant. Why, there's a squalid old pauper idiot, a patient of his, who's got no name of his own, and Whipple christened him Tom Cobb because he says he's the ugliest old lunatic he ever saw, and it reminds him of me. And all the boys in the neighborhood have taken it up, and he's been known as Tom Cobb for the last 2 years. That's pleasant of Whipple.
Sure, it's his joke.
Yes, I know it's his joke, but I don't like his joke. One Tom Cobb's enough at a time, and if I was quite sure I knew how to load this, I'd snuff one of them out at this minute. I would. Upon my word and honor, I would.
Poor Tom. He's an innocent boy, and he's fond of me, and I like him too. And it's a pity he ain't rich. And now, who's the gentleman with the command of ready money who's proposed for me, I'd like to know?
Mr. Whipple is here to see you.
Miss Matilda, don't think me premature for calling, but I came because I really couldn't wait any longer.
And you did right. Sit you down.
I couldn't help it. You're not angry.
Not I. If you couldn't help it, what were you to do?
I declare I haven't slept a wink all night from anxiety.
Would you like to take a snooze on the sofa?
A snooze. Miss Matilda, hasn't your father told you?
Told me? Told me what?
Why, that I...
You never mean to sit there and tell me you're the young gentleman of high family, unblemished morals, and considerable command of ready money?
That's me. He has told you. Yes, Miss Matilda, I have dared...
to your friend Tom Cobb.
Tom Cobb. Yes, I know you are. A mule, a clod, an unsuccessful clod. Yes, I know he's tied to you as a log is tied to the leg of a runaway donkey. Oh, I beg your pardon, I didn't mean that. But you can't really love him.
Indeed, and I like him very well then. He's a good boy. But tell me now, is it bills?
Well, yes, since you put it like that, it is bills.
Then I'll tell you what, Mr. Whipple. I'm tired of being handed over with stamped paper.
Oh, there was no stamp on it. Indeed, there was no stamp on it. It was an IOU.
It's the same thing. I like Tom Cobb better than I like you. And if he'll marry me in a month, I'll have him. And if he won't, why, I'll talk to you. There's your answer, and don't bother me again.
In a month? In a month? He shan't marry her in a month. If I can only manage to get him out of the way and keep him there for a few weeks. I'll do it. It'll cost money, but I'll do it. Ah, Tom, me boy, I'm delighted to see you. How uncommonly jolly you're looking, to be sure.
Yes, I should say I was looking uncommonly jolly.
Why, what's the matter?
Why, a good many things. And look here, Whipple, I wish next time you want to godfather a nameless pauper, you'd choose somebody else.
Oh, you mean ugly old Tom Cobb? I beg your pardon, but he was so like you, I couldn't help it. But there, that needn't distress you, for he died last night, and there's an end of him.
Oh,
Never mind, old boy, I'll make it up to you someday.
will you? Whipple, I'm in an awful fix about Ben Isaac's bills. Now, you're well off. I did your botany paper for you in college. Will you lend me £250 on my personal security? I want a plain answer, yes or no.
Oh, my dear boy, of course, with pleasure.
My dear Whipple.
Well, you shall have it, of course.
When?
Why, now, if you like.
What, the money?
No, the plain answer. I haven't a penny at my banker's. I've lent it all to the Colonel. What have you done with the money?
Well, I lent it all to the Colonel. He borrowed it the very day he agreed to my engagement with Matilda. Didn't he, dear?
Just that very same day, dear, directly after I told him you were going to propose to me, and immediately before you did it.
Good soldier, the Colonel.
Oh, he didn't borrow it because he wanted it. He borrowed it to prevent me from wasting it in foolishness. He said so. But I should like to have a go in some foolishness every now and then, if it was only for a pair of trousers or half a dozen socks.
Yes, you want socks.
Yeah, but what's the use of socks to a man who's going to blow his brains out? Whipple, I do assure you, on my honor, if I knew a safe and perfectly painless way of popping out of this world into comfortable quarters in the next, I'd adopt it. Upon my word and honor, I'd adopt it.
Do you mean that?
Yes, I mean that.
Well, then I'll help you. Now observe, my old pauper patient, Tom Cobb, died last night. He hasn't a friend or relation in the world to claim him. Well, I certify to his death, and he's comfortably buried, and there's an end of old Tom Cobb.
The ugly one.
Oh, the ugly one, of course.
I don't see what you're driving at.
Don't you? Why, if Tom Cobb's dead and buried, what becomes of the bill Tom Cobb gave Ben Isaacs?
But the ugly Tom Cobb never gave a bill. Oh, you cunning devil.
Now then, what do you say to dying by deputy?
By Jove, it's worth thinking of.
Worth thinking of? It's worth jumping at without stopping to think at all.
I believe you're right. I'll do it. I'm a dead man. I can come to life again, I suppose, when I like.
Oh, yes, under another name. But you'll have to hide away for a few months.
But how about burial fees?
Will £25 do it?
£25 will just do it.
Well, then, come along at once to my house and take leave of this life.
But you'll let me take my last farewell of Matilda?
No. You bother Matilda.
Oh, no, you mustn't bother Matilda.
Now, do come along.
Hang it all, let me see her before the tomb closes over me for 3 months.
No, you can write to her. Now come at once or I won't help you.
Then, farewell, Matilda. I go to my doom. Whipple, during my decease, I confide her to you. Be a mother to her. Oh, farewell, unhappy Matilda. Be true to my memory, for I'm as good as dead, and you're engaged to a body.
Now, where's he gone with Whipple? I'd like to know. That Whipple's up to some bedevilment with him, I'll go bail.
Miss, there's a young lady as says she must see you and won't take no denial.
A young lady?
Enter Caroline in great agitation. She is a romantic-looking young lady with long curls and gushing, poetical demeanor. She pauses dramatically.
Matilda, don't you know me?
Indeed, and I don't. Why, if it isn't my old schoolfellow, Carrie Effingham, it's Carrie as I'm a living sinner.
Yes, I came to town today, and though 10 long years have flown since last we met, I could not pass my dear old friend's abode without one effort to awake those slumbering chords that, struck in unison, ever found ready echoes in our sister hearts.
Why, you talk nonsense as well as ever, dear. But I'm glad to see ya.
Well, how very well you're looking. And heavens, how lovely.
Yes, dear. You're looking older. You're not married yet, I suppose.
Alas, no.
Don't fret, dear. It'll come.
Oh, Matilda, a maiden's heart should be as free as the summer sun itself. And it's a sad, sad day when youth's heyday, its thrilling gladness has been trodden underfoot by the iron-shod heel of a serpent.
Yes, it's sad when that's happened. Tell me all about it.
Swear that, come what may, no torture shall ever induce you to reveal the secret I'm going to confide to you.
Oh, I'll swear that with pleasure.
Will you believe me when I tell you that I have loved?
Oh, yes.
And that I have been loved in return.
Well, yes. Oh, yes, it's possible.
He was a poet soldier, fighting the Paynim foe in India's burning clime, a glorious songster who swept the lute with one hand while he sabred the foe with the other.
Was he in the band?
The band? He was a major general.
Oh, handsome?
I know not. I never saw him.
You never saw him?
I never saw his face, but I have seen his soul.
What's his soul like?
Like the frenzied passion of the antelope, like the wild fire of the tiger lily, like the pale earnestness of some lovesick thundercloud that longs to grasp the fleeting lightning in his outstretched arms.
Was he often like that?
Always.
A pleasant man in furnished lodgings. And
poured,
where did you see his soul?
He poured it into the columns of the Weybridge Watchman, the local paper of the town that gave him birth. Dainty little poems, the dew of his sweet soul, the tender frothings of his soldier brain. In them I read him, and in them I loved him. I wrote to him for his autograph. He sent it. I sent him my photograph, and directly he saw it, he proposed in terms that cloyed me with the sweet surfeit of their choice exuberance, imploring me at the same time to reply by telegraph. Then, maidenlike, I longed to toy and dally with his love, but Anglo-Indian telegraph rates are high, so much against my maiden will, I answered in one word, that one word, yes.
And you've engaged yourself to a man whose face you've never seen.
I've seen his soul.
And when do you think you'll see his body?
Alas, never. For pity me, he is faithless. We corresponded for a year, and then his letters ceased. And now, for 18 months, no crumb or crust of comfort has appeased my parched and thirsting soul. Fortunately, my solicitor has all his letters.
Oh, I see. And when does the action come off?
I know not. We have advertised for him left and right. 20 men of law are on his track, and my brother Bulstrode, an attorney's clerk, carries a writ about him day and night. Thus my heartstrings are laid bare that every dolt may jibe at them. The whole county rings with my mishap. Its gloomy details are on every bumpkin's tongue. This is my secret. Swear that you will never reveal it.
Oh, but you'll get thumping damages when you find him.
It may be so. The huckstering men of law appraise my heart wreck at £5,000.
Well, and I wish you may get it, dear.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for that wish.
You're not going?
No, I have come to spend a long, long day. I'm going to take my bonnet off. Dear Matilda, we have not met for many, many years, and I long, I cannot tell you, Matilda, how earnestly I long to see your new things.
There's an ungrateful daughter to refuse, Whipple, and to be pinched for money till I can hardly raise an egg for breakfast. But she shan't have Tom Cobb anyhow. I'll see to that. A pretty kettle of fish I'm boiling for myself. When I've sent Tom Cobb about his business, what's the ungrateful villain do? Why, he'll sue on them bills of mine, as if I'd never been the next thing to a father-in-law to him. But that's the way with mean and thankless natures. Do 'em an injustice, and they're never satisfied till they've retaliated.
Papa dear, I've bad news for you.
Bad news? At whose suit?
It ain't that, dear. It's my Tom.
And what's the scamp been doing now?
The scamp's been dying.
Dying? What do you mean?
I mean, Tom's dead.
Matilda, are ye in earnest, or have you been at the Eau de Cologne?
Oh, I'm in earnest. Tom's dead.
Well, who's killed him?
Faith, and he's killed himself. He's written to say so. Here's his letter. He's enclosed you 2 bills and appointed you as executor.
Oh, you pain and surprise me more than I can tell you. Poor Tom, he was a kind and generous lad, and I'd hoped to have met those bills under happier circumstances. Well, his executor deals with them now. That's me. And the question is whether, in the interest of Tom's estate, it would be worthwhile to proceed against the acceptor. That's me again. And on the whole, I don't recommend it. Oh dear. Now tell me about it. Oh, don't cry, me child.
No, Pa. Well, it's like this. Ben Isaacs was overpressing, and poor Tom was bothered and thought he'd make an end of himself. And just then he heard that old man, that Whipple called Tom Cobb, from the likeness, had just died. So Tom thought he'd make one death for the 2. Surely he's been economically brought up.
What? Am I to understand that Thomas Cobb has been trifling with the most sacred feelings of an old soldier's grey-headed old heart?
Well, he's shamming dead, if that's what you mean, and he hopes you'll go to the funeral.
Shamming dead he is. Shamming dead? Oh, let me come across him, and by the blood of the old Phipps, I'll make him sham dead in real earnest.
But, Papa dear, the boy's hard-pressed.
Don't interrupt an honest burst of feeling in an old military officer. For months I've been looked forward to, like a simple old soldier, to meeting those bills, and now I've destroyed them and deprived myself of a pleasure which might have lasted me for the next 20 years. But I'll expose him. It's a crime of some sort, pretending to be dead when you're not. It's obtaining a burial under false pretenses. If there's nothing else, what's that?
It's his will. Yes, you would have a gentleman die without a will.
Oh, his will. A gentleman, a beggarly scoundrel. Oh. He leaves ye everything. Matilda, it's duly signed and witnessed. It's all quite in form. By me soul, I congratulate you on your accession to fortune and prosperity.
It's just done to give colour to his death. Don't be hasty, dear. It's the first time I've been mentioned in a will, and maybe it'll be the last.
Oh, mentioned in a will. It's an outrage, a sacrilege, I tell ye. An insult to a simple old officer and his deluded girl, to mention them in a swindling document that is not worth the ink it's written with. This is how I treat it, Matilda. This is how I treat it. In the fire. If that thief, Tom Cobb, was here, I'd crumple him too and send him after it.
Oh, Colonel.
Well, sir?
Here's news. My old man, the ugly old man who always went by the name of Tom Cobb.
Well, sir?
He died last night. Poor ugly old Tom Cobb died last night.
We knew all about that. We knew it half an hour ago.
Yes, Matilda, but you don't know this. I went to his cottage this morning, and on the bed I found a hasty scrawled note written by the old man just before he died. It contained these words, "Look under the fireplace." I got a crowbar and raised the hearth, and under it I found gold. Gold! Silver and banknotes in profusion. No end of gold. You could roll in it. You could roll in it. And he hasn't a friend or relation in the world.
Wait.
Why, what's that?
Well, this, sir, is the poor old gentleman's will, in which he leaves everything to me beloved daughter.
But that's not old Tom Cobb's will. That's the will young Tom Cobb made in fun just now.
Sir, old Tom Cobb is dead, and here is a will signed Tom Cobb. Put that and that together, and what do you make of it?
Act 2. 3 months later. The same room in Colonel O'Phipps' house, but now very handsomely furnished, with pictures, busts, etc. Writing materials are on one table, sherry and glasses on another. Matilda O'Phipps is discovered working, Whipple seated on a stool at her feet.
My darling Matilda, who was it said, the course of true love never did run smooth? And our loves, are they not true? And could anything be smoother than their course during these last 3 months?
No, dear, saving that when you proposed for me, Papa kicked you out of the house.
He did, in the effusion of the moment, and I honor him for it. On his unexpected accession to wealth, he naturally looked for a wealthy and well-born son-in-law, and I honor him for it. But the doughty old soldier was open to reason, and when I proved to him that his wealth depended on my secrecy, he admitted his error at once, like the frank old warrior as he is, and I honor him for it.
Poor Tom. I wonder what's come of him all this while. It's 3 months since he
Died.
died, and I've never heard a word from him since.
Well, then he can't complain if you've been inconstant.
Deed, and he can't. It's clear a young girl must marry somebody. It's nature.
Well, of course it is. And if he truly loves you, really and truly loves you as I do, he ought to be delighted when he comes back to find that you've engaged yourself to a gentleman in every way his superior.
Delighted when he comes back. Devil a bit, by reason that he won't come back any more.
Won't come back any more?
Not he. Isn't he dead? And haven't we buried him, and paid his debts, and proved his will, and stuck up a tombstone that he'd blush to read? Sure, it'll be in the highest degree undecent in him to give the lie to his tombstone.
But Tom never had any tact, and if he should be guilty of the indiscretion of turning up...
Well, sir, if he did, if he should, I shall be prepared to admit that I've acted under a misconception. But, sir, before I yield possession of the estate which he has so miraculously come into my hands, I shall satisfy myself beyond all doubt that I am not dealing with an impostor. Anyone who assumes to be the late Tom Cobb will have to establish his identity beyond all manner of doubt. And as I've paid Mr. Ben Isaacs and his other creditors conditionally on his being dead, he may find that difficult, sir. He may find that difficult.
Well, Tom Cobb may be dead, but when he finds out that the use that's been made of his will, he'll not rest in his grave, I'm thinking, that's all.
But if he should return, if Tom Cobb's shade should take it into his ghostly head to revisit the scenes of his earthly happiness, promise me that you will treat him with the cold respect due to a disembodied spirit.
But when do you think he'll come?
Well, between ourselves, I think we may look for his apparition at an early date. Unless the necessaries of life are considerably cheaper in the other world than in this, Tom Cobb's 25 pounds must be as shadowy as himself by now.
But if he comes to life, who's to kill him again?
Oh, your papa will have to kill him. It's his turn. Besides, it's a colonel's business to kill people.
And the doctor's too.
Yes, Matilda. But we don't pay people to die. They pay us to kill them. It's the rule of the profession.
If you take a seat, sir, I'll tell the colonel you want to see him. What name shall I say?
If I give him my real name, he'll faint. The Duke of Northumberland. That'll draw him. I haven't a card. Well, nicely the old scoundrel's feathered his nest, upon my word. Real Axminster, satin furniture, ancestors, busts, and this has been going on for 3 months, and I only heard of it yesterday. Why, he's made me accessory to forgery, and I'm being advertised for in every paper in the kingdom. Why, it's penal servitude. Who'd think an Irish colonel could be such a scoundrel? Well, you never know when you're safe in this world. Upon my soul, you don't. I never met a man in my life whose manner and appearance inspired me with so much confidence. Well, upon my word, Colonel O'Phip, you're a nice officer, you are. I make a will more by way of a joke than anything else, and you have the face to apply it to the property of a friendless old man who went by my name. Why, it's robbery. It's forgery, and Docket and Tape are offering £50 reward to anyone who can give information about me. Now look here, destroy that will and restore the property, or I'll answer this advertisement this very minute. I will, upon my soul and honor I will. There.
I believe I have the honor of addressing the Duke of Northumberland.
Oh, don't talk nonsense, Colonel. You know me well enough.
Am I to understand, sir, that you're not the distinguished nobleman you represented yourself to be?
Oh, haven't I been deceived in you? Oh, Colonel, Colonel, you have turned out treacherous. Upon my soul, you have.
I'm at a loss to comprehend your meaning, sir. Will ye oblige me by informing me whom I have the honor of addressing?
You've the honor of addressing a miserable poor devil who'll be standing alongside you at the Old Bailey bar in about 3 weeks, if he's not much mistaken.
Upon my word, sir, you've got the advantage of me.
Have I? Then I'm the only man that ever did. I don't think Tom Cobb is the sort of man to get any advantage of Colonel O'Phip. Oh, what's the matter now?
You mentioned the name of Tom Cobb, sir. I had a dear, dear friend of that name once. He was to have married me daughter, sir, but he's gone.
Well, if that's what you're crying for, cheer up, because he's come back again.
Me dear friend, me very dear friend, if you can assure me that my poor dear, dreaded, gone Tom Cobb is alive, me gratitude shall know no bounds. Oh, maybe you're his brother?
His brother? Get out!
No? Well, I thought you might be. There seemed to be a likeness.
I should think you did.
A distant likeness, sir.
A mere suggestion, I suppose?
A faint, shadowy indication of a remote family resemblance. That's all, sir. I give you my honor, and now tell me, where is he, that I may embrace him?
Well, here he is, but don't embrace him.
Sir, dear face, that you're me beloved old friend Tom Cobb?
Well, if the marks on my linen are to be trusted...
Ah, sir, beware of jumping at conclusions on insufficient grounds. Depend on it, you're mistaken, sir.
Well, upon my honor, I begin to think I am.
Tom Cobb, sir, is dead and buried. I had the melancholy satisfaction of following to his grave. My dear friend, Tom Whipple, he accompanied me, and he's at the present moment engaged in comforting my bereaved and inconsolable daughter.
I'm sure I'm very much obliged to him. Perhaps I could do that better than he.
I think not, sir. He's doing it very well. Very well indeed.
Now, for once and for all, Colonel, this won't do. There are plenty of people who know me, even if you don't. Here's my card, T. Cobb 6, in red cotton. I've several other marks of the same character about me, which I shall happily show you at a more convenient opportunity.
Sir, documentary evidence in red cotton. Is it worth the cambric it's stitched upon? You'll have to find some better proof of your identity than that.
Papa dear, Tim's going to take me to the theatre. Oh.
My darling Matilda, my beloved Matilda, I'm so glad to see you again, dear. Why, it's been 3 months since we met. What a fool I've been to out myself out of this sort of thing for 3 months. How very, very well you're looking.
Oh, will you kindly leave off kissing me till I've had the pleasure of being introduced here?
What? You don't mean to tell me you don't know me?
Deed, and I don't then. And yet I seem to have seen your face before.
Indeed you have. You've kissed it before.
I don't remember kissing it.
You're absurd, sir. She don't remember kissing it.
Oh, Papa!
What's the matter, me dear?
There's something about him that reminds me of poor Tom.
Aye, there's a faint resemblance. I remarked it myself.
Now, Matilda, don't you deny me. I've loved you so long in spite of your not having any money. And although you do go with the bills, and although you are older than I am, don't turn against me now. Oh, you do look so pretty.
Away with her.
My dear Tim, my very dear Tim, you're the very man I wanted to see. I'm most unaffectedly delighted to see you. How remarkably well you're looking, to be sure.
Yes, uncommonly well. Never better. And how have you been?
Oh, very well, but rather dull, I say. I've got into a nice scrape. They're after me. They're advertising for me.
No.
Fact. £50 is offered for me. What do you say to that?
Well, I should close with it.
Why?
Because I should think it's a good deal more than you're worth.
Oh, ha, ha. What a fellow you are. Same old Whipple. I say, the Colonel's a cool hand. What do you think he says now?
Nothing worth repeating, I should imagine.
What a caustic fellow you are. He says I'm dead.
Oh, he's an Irishman.
Oh, that's very good. That's so like you.
He's not dead, Colonel.
There, Matilda, you hear that?
What are you about? How dare you embrace that young lady?
You said I was alive.
Oh, but bless my heart, you don't suppose every man alive is privileged to embrace Miss O'Phip?
A nice time I'd have of it.
Oh,
Tell you, sir, Tom Cobb is dead and buried.
Yes, poor Tom, he's dead.
but you just said that I was alive.
Yes, old chap, you're alive.
Oh, I see. Your theory is that I'm alive, but I'm not Tom Cobb.
Yes, that's my theory.
But I'm like him, ain't I?
Well, now you mention it, you are like him.
Matilda, once more, I implore you.
Matilda, leave the room. Sir, misled by a resemblance which I admit to be striking, you have come here under the impression that you are my departed friend. I can excuse the error. But now that it's been pointed out to you, if you ever attempt to embrace this young lady again, I'll break your leg and set it myself.
Oh, Colonel O'Phip,
Stop,
I need
sir,
you.
stop. if this conversation is to continue, I must be informed whom I have the pleasure of addressing. Up to the present moment, we have only learnt that who you are not. Let us now proceed to ascertaining who ye are.
Colonel, I am in that state of mental confusion that I don't declare that I don't know who I am. Give me a little breathing time. When a young man believes he's been Tom Cobb for 25 years and then suddenly finds himself kicked out of Tom Cobb with nowhere else to go, he wants a little breathing time to look about him to find a name to let.
Well, sir, for the purposes of this interview, one name's as good as another. There's the Times that you have there. You'll find a many good name going a-begging in that. Well, choose your name. Oh, look, here's a gentleman who was hanged just this morning. Would you like his name? He's done with it.
Oh, don't be unpleasant, Colonel.
Well, you put your finger down. Take the first that comes. Here, go ahead. Here's one. Oh, look, the Bishop of Bath and Wells.
Oh, nonsense. Who'd take me for a bishop?
Oh, try again. Mr. and Mrs. German Reed.
Oh, don't be absurd.
Well, once more. Major General Arthur Fitzpatrick. What do you
But
say
I
to
don't
that?
look like a major general.
Well, sir, and what of that? I don't look like a lieutenant colonel, do I?
No, you don't. But a major general in broken boots?
Sure, and it's where your corns have been shooting through. You wouldn't have a major general with corns that couldn't shoot, I suppose.
No.
Now, sir, it'll take a mighty deal of argument to persuade me that you're not Major General Arthur Fitzpatrick in broken boots. Now, I've the credit of the service at stake, and when I see a Major General in broken boots, it bleeds for him, and I long to allow him £1 a week, sir. £1 a week to keep up his military position?
£1 a week?
No less, sir. Now, as long as Major General Arthur Fitzpatrick chooses to claim £1 a week of me, it's here at his service. But on the understanding that he resumes his name and rank and ceases forever the dishonorable and unsoldier-like practice of masquerading under a false name. Do you understand me, sir?
Yes, I understand you.
Do ye agree?
Oh, I'm so hungry and seedy and wretched that I'd agree to anything. You couldn't oblige me with the first week in advance.
Sure, it has always been Terence O'Phipps' maxim to pay everything in advance. I'll go and get ye £1, and ye can amuse yourself by writing out the receipt while I'm gone.
Colonel, I don't know whether to be very much obliged to you or to look upon you as the coolest scamp unhung.
Sure, take me word for it. Ye've every reason to do both.
Now, that man's commanded a regiment for years. He's enjoyed the unlimited confidence of his sovereign, whoever that may be, and 1,000 men have looked up to him with reverence and esteem, and it's been left to me, who am not naturally sharp, to find out if he's an atrocious scoundrel. Oh.
The colonel will be here directly, sir.
The Effinghams posed themselves in a group, as if being photographed. Mr. Effingham seated, Mrs. Effingham leaning upon his left shoulder, Caroline seated in a picturesque attitude at her feet, and Bulstrode standing gloomily behind.
Adolphus, what a sweet spot! A rural paradise indeed. How balmy, and yet how cheap.
I am an old man, and have learnt that the hollowness of outdoor splendors. The house is indeed well enough, and it may be cheap, but after all, what is a house?
£75 a year on 3 years agreement, I believe.
After all, what is the house but the outer husk? Let us rather learn to value the fruit within. The shell truly is goodly, but where, oh, where is the kernel?
He'll be here in a minute. I beg your pardon.
To the soaring soul, fettered by stern destiny to the office stool of an obscure attorney, the contemplation of such a paradise opens a new vista of life's possibilities.
My crushed and broken boy.
In such a home as this, I feel I could lay the warp and woof of a great life. In the dingy purlieus of summer's town, life has no warp, no woof.
A kind of shoddy.
Sir,
Oh, nothing. I didn't speak. Extraordinary family.
If there is one class of young men I detest beyond another, it is the class of young men who see a humorous side to everything.
in the eyes of such a one, the doughtiest deeds are the subject of a sneer, the noblest thoughts the peg on which to hang a parody.
Go to, sir, go to.
My dear, I am an aged man. Let me play the peacemaker. Remember, you are not as others are. You are a thing of very thought, an abstraction. You must not expect the young man of average tastes to grasp you.
I do not expect any young man to grasp me.
And she's right.
Ahem, we pity you, young man, but do not despise you. Read the master thoughts of mighty minds. Withdraw yourself within yourself. Oh, soar and be abstract. Think long and largely. Study the incomprehensible. Revolve. So will you learn at last to detach yourself from the sordid world and float as we float in the thoughts of empyrean purity.
Oh, sir, my father is an aged man, and his words are wise. Be led by him, and you will prosper.
The young man is not of those who can detach themselves from the sordid world.
I beg your pardon. This young man is one of those who has detached themselves from the sordid world so completely that he can't get back in.
Oh, now, if you've got the receipt, Mrs. Effingham, I rejoice to see ye. Miss Caroline Bulstrode, Mr. Effingham, me aged friend, allow me to introduce ye to a very particular friend and old comrade, Major General Arthur Fitzpatrick. Oh, Fighting Fitz, we used to call him.
What?
Major General Arthur Fitzpatrick.
Of the 29th Madras Native Infantry?
I have no doubt that was my regiment.
Viper!
What?
Oh.
Viper! Deliberate and systematic viper!
Poetic fiend in human shape, despair.
Blighter of fond and faithless hopes, behold your handiwork.
Why, what have I done?
Aye, sir, what have you done? Answer me that. Come, General, no evasion, or the blood of the Phipps. Oh, I'll beat you senseless.
Oh, no, no, don't hurt him. I am better now. Brother, stand off, father, mother, brother, all. I have loved this man, and I love him still. Arthur, my poet soldier, by our old vows, by the old poetic fire that burns in your heart and kindled mine, tell me that you can explain everything.
Upon my word, I shouldn't like to undertake to do that. Why, I never saw you before in my life.
Spare that plea. It cannot serve you, sir. Your letters bind you. You are so advised.
But it can't be. It's impossible.
Oh, Arthur, I am told by those who understand these things that you have indeed compromised yourself to the extent required by our common law, but you will not compel me to bring our sacred loves into court. You are a poet, a great poet. You will be faithful. You will be true.
Oh, sir, do not compel us to lay bare the workings of her young affections. Do not force us to bring her very heartstrings into court.
Oh no.
Crippled minds may play mercilessly upon them.
To the tune of £5,000.
Oh, General, do not blight this young lady's heart. Give her your sacred promise, or by the blood of the Ophips, my son-in-law elect shall teach you your forgotten duty.
Yes, sir. Promise at once, or nothing shall prevent me from urging this young lady's natural protector to inflict on you the condign punishment you so richly deserve.
Oh, you speak nobly, sir, but I am an old man, but I am yet hale and tough enough, and tough as hickory. I have a brave and stalwart son, and to his hand I confide the task of avenging the insult offered to his outraged family.
What prevents me from flying at his throat? What prevents me from whipping him as I would whip a cur? Tell me, somebody, what is it holds me back?
I tell you, it is mercy.
It is. I give you your life.
My lion-hearted boy.
Do you know that you are laboring under some surprising and unaccountable delusion?
Delusion, sir.
Delusion. Ha, ha.
No, Arthur, no. This is no delusion, for see, I have your letters. No, they are with my solicitor.
They are. I am his clerk, and at my broken-hearted sister's suit, cold, calculating man of war, I serve you with this writ.
Bulstrode presents the writ, which Caroline, kneeling at Tom's feet, reaches and hands to him, kissing his hand as she places the writ in it.
Breach of promise? Don't bring any actions. Don't resort to any violent measures. You say I'm engaged to you. I dare say I am. If you said I was engaged to your mother, I dare say it too. I've no idea who I am, or what I am, or where I am, or what I am saying, or what I am doing. But you are very pretty, and you do seem fond of me. I've no objection, I think. I should rather like it. At least I shall try.
My poet soldier and my minstrel boy.
Mr. Effingham, Bulstrode, and Mrs. Effingham group themselves picturesquely around Caroline and Tom. Act 3, 3 months later. The scene is the drawing room in Mr. Effingham's house. Cobb is discovered smoking a pipe on the balcony with Caroline. The Effingham family is discovered grouped. Mrs. Effingham seated, old Effingham leaning on her chair with his arm round her neck, and Bulstrode standing moodily behind. As the curtain rises, Caroline enters from the balcony and throws herself at her mother's feet.
Where is your poet lover, Caroline?
I left him basking on the balcony in deep communion with his inner self.
Ah, what a priceless destiny is yours, my babe, to live a lifetime in the eternal sunlight of his poet brain.
It is, but you shall share it, father, mother, brother, all. We will all share it, always. I would not rob you of one ray that emanates from that divine face for all the wealth of the earth.
My unselfish girl.
How nobly he looks. When sickened with the world, he turns his eyes inward to gaze upon his hidden self.
None but Apollo ever looked as he looks then.
Truly, yet shall I confess that when I saw him first, my idiot heart sank deep within me, because in the expression of his thoughts I did not recognize Apollo's stamp.
Fie, Caroline! Would you have a poet carry his muse pick-a-back for dolls to pick at? Fie, Caroline! Oh, fie!
Some thoughts are too deep for utterance.
And some too precious. Why should he scatter such gems broadcast? My poet warrior thinks them to himself.
He does. It is his weird and warlike way.
He comes. His fancy flight has ended for the nonce. My soldier minstrel has returned to earth.
Tom enters. Caroline goes to meet him and brings him forward lovingly. His appearance is somewhat altered. He parts his hair in the center and allows it to grow long. He wears a very low lying down collar in order to look Byronic. Caroline throws herself at his feet, and Mr. and Mrs. Effingham cross and group themselves about him. Mrs. Effingham kneels, Bulstrode standing moodily behind his mother.
Oh, my dear Arthur, ennoble us, raise us one step towards the Empyrean. Give us a great thought.
From the vast treasures of your poet brain, we beg some spare small change.
Well, I really don't know. I haven't anything just now.
We are the bees and you the flower. We beg some honey for our little hives.
Talking of bees, okay. Talking of bees, have you ever remarked how the busy little insect avails herself of the sunshine to gather her sweet harvest from every opening flower?
Oh, yes, we have. We have. How very true to the fact.
He said her sweet harvest, I think.
Her sweet harvest.
Sweet harvest.
That's her honey, you know.
Thank you.
You are a close student of nature, sir.
Yes, I do a good deal in that way, yes.
How simple are his words, and yet what priceless pearls of thought lie encased beneath their outer crust.
Yes, I always wrap them in an outer crust to keep them from getting cold.
He wraps them in an outer crust to keep them from the cold. And once I sneered at these grand utterances, just as we continually snare at the shapeless clouds upon the earth, which on inspection turn out to be jeweled bracelets of exceeding price.
Nothing more common. It's the old story. The superficial mind... The superficial mind looks for cream upon the surface of the milk, but the profound philosopher dives down deep below. Much more of this, and my mind will give way. Gah!
You are a deep thinker, sir. I can fancy Shakespeare to have been such another.
Shakespeare? Shakespeare never said anything like that. How do you do it?
I don't know. It comes. I just shut my eyes and it comes.
I cannot do it. Ah, me! I shall never learn to talk like that.
Bulstrode, my son, had you had communion with the Major General in earlier life, he might have helped you shape your destiny to some nobler end.
No, it might not be. I am fated. Destiny has declared against me. Fettered to the desk of an obscure attorney, forced to imprison my soaring soul within the left-off garments of a father whose figure has but little in common with my own. Who can wonder that my life is one protracted misfit?
Oh, my dear, dear boy, sneer not at these clothes. They may have been worn for many, many years by a very old but very upright man. Be proud of them. No sordid thought has ever lurked behind that waistcoat. That hat has never been doffed to vicious wealth. Those shoes, they have never yet walked into the parlors of the very sinful.
I am sure of that, Adolphus. I am very, very sure of that.
It may be as you say. I do respect these clothes, but not even a father's eloquence can gloze over the damning fact that they are second-hand.
A blessing on him. Is he not benevolent?
Yes, he looks so. Why do benevolent people have such long hair? Do they say to themselves, I'm a benevolent person, so I will let my hair grow? Or do they let it grow because they are too benevolent to cut it off?
There are thousands of such questions that appear at every turn to make us marvel at nature's strange decrees. Let us not pry into these dark secrets. Let us rather inquire whether you have any chance of getting anything to do.
No, there's no opening for major generals just now.
And yet, how nobly you would lead your troops into action, caracoling at the head on a proud Arabian barb, and rousing them to very frenzy by shouting forth martial songs of your own composition. Oh, it would madden them.
Yes, I think it would. But at present I've only half my pay and £1 a week, and we can't marry on that.
Why not? Is it 10 shillings a week each? I'm content if you are. Say, Arthur, shall we be made one?
Oh, my dear Caroline, it's nonsense to talk about being made one. It's my experience that when poor people marry, they're made like half a dozen at least in no time.
Well, I must wait and hope. Oh, for a war! A vast war!
No.
Oh, for the clash of steel-clad foemen! Oh, for the deadly cannonade!
Oh, no.
And loud above the din of battle, I hear my Arthur's voice as like a doughty paladin of old. He cleaves his path where'er the fight is thickest. Oh, I see him doing it.
Yes, I think I see myself doing it. Poor dear girl, it's a shame to deceive her, but what can I do in the face of this confounded advertisement which still appears in all the papers every day? £50 reward will be paid to anyone who will give any information concerning the whereabouts of Thomas Cobb, NRCS, applied to docket and tape 27 Paragon Somers Town. For just 6 months, this blighting paragraph has appeared in every paper in London. Everyone is talking about it. A Christmas annual has been published. How we found Tom Cobb. And a farce called Tom Cobb Found at Last is playing at the principal theatre. Oh, Whipple, you here?
Yes, how do you do? I'm quite well. So's Matilda.
That name.
She's downstairs with Miss Effingham.
Downstairs. And does she... Oh, don't think it improper for me to ask from improper motive. Does she ever talk about me?
Never mentions you by any chance, but she often drops a tear to the memory of poor dead and gone Tom Cobb.
Oh, she does that, does she? That's rather nasty for you, isn't it?
Not a bit. It does her credit, and I honor her for it. The poor fellow's dead, and there's an end to him. I loved him as a brother. He did my botany papers for me at the college, but it's no use repining. No power on earth can bring him to life again now. How she loved that man.
Oh, Matilda, be good to her, Whipple.
I will, General, trust me.
Is she as fond of the theater as ever?
Quite. We go every night.
She used to call it the theater.
She does still.
Oh, bless her for it. And does she still like oysters after the play?
Always. She bargains for 'em. Stout and oysters.
She used to call them histers.
Oh, she does still.
Oh, thank you for this news of her. Oh, Whipple, make that woman happy.
Trust me, I will. For poor dear Tom Cobb's sake. How she loved that man.
Oh.
But this is not business. The Colonel, who is downstairs with Mr. Effingham, begged me to give you this, your weekly screw. Allow me, Major General.
Oh, thank you, Colonel. The Colonel is always regular and punctual with my little pension.
The Colonel is extremely punctilious about money matters. Oh, I quite forgot. He further desires me to say that from this moment he proposes to discontinue your weekly payment.
What?
From this moment, your little pension dries up.
Do you mean to tell me that he intends deliberately to break his plighted word?
That is precisely what I intended to convey.
And cut off my only source of sustenance?
Absolutely.
But hang it, man, don't he know that his liberty and wealth are at my mercy?
Yes, he knows that. But he's prepared to risk it. You see, General, Messieurs Docket and Tape are looking out for Tom Cobb. Tom Cobb's wanted. I don't know what he's done, but people talk about a forged will. He's advertised for every day. You may have noticed it.
Yes, I have remarked it.
Well, if Tom Cobb is alive, this advertisement is quite to keep him quiet. The Colonel, having this fact strongly before his eyes, considers that as he has no further interest in Major General Fitzpatrick's existence, he does not see why he should be called upon to contribute to his support.
But it's ruin! Hang it, it's starvation! Whipple, you used to be a nice man once. Ask him to see me. Ask him to speak to me for 5 minutes. By your old niceness, I implore you.
Well, I can't resist that appeal. I'll ask him, but I'm not sanguine. You see, he's been in the constant practice of breaking his promise for the last 65 years, and it's degenerated into a habit.
And I did that, Matt. But I'll be even with them all. I don't care now. I've nothing to lose, and I'm a desperate man. My mind's made up. I will write to Docket and Tape and tell them the whole truth. Now, Colonel O'Phip, tremble, and you, Whipple, tremble, and Matilda. Oh no, I would spare Matilda. But no, let her tremble too. Now, I shall soon know the worst.
The Major General seems moody. On what is he thinking? On the sacking of towns, perchance?
Bulstrode, you're a lawyer's clerk, aren't you?
Cursed be my lot, I am.
Do you happen to know Docket and Tape?
I do.
Who are they?
My loathed employers.
What? Why then, you know all about this Tom Cobb who they are advertising for, and whose name is on every tongue.
I should rather say I did.
And what is he wanted for?
Much.
Yes, but what?
It is a weird tale. Wild horses shouldn't drag it from me.
But hang it, you can trust me.
General, I think I can.
Yes.
But I'm sure I won't.
But why do you object?
Major General Fitzpatrick, had you the password of some leaguered town and an enemy armed to the teeth, demanded that word at the pistol's mouth, what would you do?
Oh, I would tell him at once without a moment's hesitation.
Then I am made of doughtier stuff. Sir, I hate my employers. I loathe their unholy practices, but I respect their secrets.
Oh.
Good day. I go to them.
So it seems I've had my head in the lion's mouth for the last 3 months without knowing it. Well, well, there is a grim justice in the fact that my punishment will be brought about through the employers of the son, of the husband, of the mother, of the young woman to whom I was to have been married.
Oh, now, sir, you've expressed a wish for an audience. On consideration, I have resolved to grant it.
Oh, you're very good, Colonel.
Oh, you may say that, sir, for I have discovered that ye're an impostor, an out-and-out impostor, sir. You're no more a general officer, than I'm a general postman.
But I never said I was. You said I was a major general, and you ought to know it isn't for me to set up my opinion on a military matter against a lieutenant colonel's.
Sir, I'm a soft-hearted, simple old fool, and at first your military baron deceived me practised eye, and I was moved to pity by your plausible tale and your broken boots. I was touched by your sorrows, and I was disposed to try and heal them.
Heal the boots?
The sorrows. Now, sir, a lie has ever been to me a scorn and aversion, and an imposture me deepest abhorrence.
Colonel, I respect your sentiments, for they are my own. You discontinue my allowance, and you are quite right. Your hand.
Sir, you speak like a gentleman. You're not a gentleman, but you speak like one. What's that?
This is a letter to Docket and Tape, in which I confess myself to be the Tom Cobb they're advertising for, and offering to give them all the information in my power.
But you're never going to send that.
I'm going to send it directly.
You're doing it to frighten me.
Frighten a colonel, I wouldn't presume to attempt it.
But no, you'll never send it. It would ruin ye.
It'll ruin all of us. Biddy, come here.
No, they can't touch me. Mind that. I'm a simple old man. It's well known and easy done. Don't say I'll pay ye the £1 a week. Dammy, I'll double it, treble it. I'm a simple old soldier, and I'm fond of you, Tom, and I'll not let you ruin yourself for me.
Sir, a lie has ever been my scorn and aversion, and an imposture my deepest abhorrence. Take this to this address at once.
Yes, sir.
Effingham, Mrs. Effingham, Matilda, Bulstrode, Whipple, all of ye, come here. Ye've determined to inform on me grey hairs. I'll be the first in the field anyhow. Now.
What is this clamour?
Papa dear, what's he been doing to you?
This man who has passed himself off as our Major General, he's a swindler and an impostor, and he's deceived us all. He's practised on our inexperience.
Arthur, speak. What is this?
Don't call him Arthur. His name's Tom. Tom.
Tom? Impossible. Tell them, Arthur, that it is false. Tell them that you are not. You cannot be Tom.
His name's Tom Cobb. Tom Cobb, Mr. Bulstrode, and he's a swindling apothecary, the man you've been advertising for these 6 months.
Amazement!
Monster, once more behold your devilish work.
Viper! Creeping, crawling, unadulterated viper!
I am Tom Cobb, MRCS. Here's my card. Tom Cobb 6. Lead me away.
This is a day of great events. We have sought you everywhere for 6 months.
I know you have. Your advertisement has been the nightmare of my life.
Amazement. There was a nameless old man who bore so strong a resemblance to you that scoffers called him by your name.
Yes.
He died in squalor, barely 6 months since.
All is over. Lead me away.
He was supposed to have much money in the house, though not a penny could be found. But besides this untold gold, there was standing in his name a sum amounting to £12,000.
Oh, I know nothing about the 12,000 pounds, but I am amenable to the law. Take me to my dungeon.
No dungeon yawns for you, oh happy sir. Wealth waits you open-armed.
What?
What?
You had a father once.
Yes.
That father, yet another of his own. The aged man, so strangely like yourself.
Yes.
That aged person had a son.
Yeah.
That son, another son. That son, your father, and that other son, yourself.
Then I am that old man's grandson?
That is the same idea in vulgar phrase. You are his grandson and his heir at law.
My poet surgeon and my old love.
Oh.
My son!
Brother,
Well, Colonel, I must trouble you to hand over the property, if it's inconvenient.
It is.
Well, I'm sorry, that's all.
Oh, maybe you're sorry, Tom. Maybe you're sorry, son. But you're not as sorry as I am. I'll go bail.
Papa dear, don't fret. Sure, I'm a penniless girl now, but ain't I going to marry a handsome and generous young gentleman of good fortune? And won't he be a son to you and give you a home for the rest of your days?
But I protest.
Tom Cobb, you speak like a gentleman. You're not a gentleman, but you speak like one. I accept your offer with pride and gratitude, my son. Oh.
Get out! Whipple, take this young lady Matilda. Go with the bills. Caroline, you loved me as a penniless but poetical major general. Can you still love me as a wealthy but unromantic apothecary?
I can love you as a wealthy anything.
We all can. We all can.
Ah,
all.
They group about him, Mr. and Mrs. Effingham on each side, Bulstrode behind, and Caroline at his feet. The Colonel, Whipple, and Matilda seated at table with their heads buried in their arms. Curtain. Thank you.